What's up guys, this is Alec. In today's episode I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about building your own raised bed. What's the best material, potting mixes, how to water your plants, what type of plants are meant to go in a raised bed. All your questions answered in this video. Alright, so do you even need a raised bed to actually grow vegetables and herbs? And the answer is no. If you have dirt, like this dirt right here, and you got water, whatever I show you in this video, you can do the same straight in the ground. The only benefits of having a raised bed is you can control the environment a lot easier, especially for weeds and critters. And also, if you're growing pH sensitive plants, you can control the pH a lot easier when you can actually isolate the soil. Other than that, you do not need a raised bed. Everything I'm about to show you in this video can be done straight in the ground. So if you don't have any money, well, just use the soil you have. So what's going to be the best material for your raised bed? A lot of people like to use wood. Wood's going to be the most common material people are always going to be choosing, especially when they haven't done it before. But from experience, I'm going to tell you why wood is the worst material to use on a raised bed. This raised bed right here has been here for about 3 years. It's falling apart. Now this is all redwood, which is supposed to be rot resistant. But you have to understand, when you live in an environment with high UV, like here in the desert, the UV will destroy wood, especially when exposed to the elements 24/7. It doesn't matter if you stain it, it doesn't matter if you paint it. Yes, I know a lot of you guys are gonna be like, you know what, I can just restain it, repaint it every few years and keep it looking nice. But check this out, how many of you are actually gonna empty the bed, take all your plants out, sand everything, scrape everything, clean everything, and stain it and paint it on the inside? Nobody's gonna do that. You're gonna do it on the outside, and guess what? Guess what happens when you have plants? You have to water. So what usually happens is all that water will just get stuck in there because it cannot drain out, because the wood, it's painted on the outside, it's stained, so it's preventing the water from evaporating through. And usually what happens is it's going to rot regardless. It doesn't matter what material you use. Redwood, cedar, it's not going to last. I do not recommend it. And just to give you an idea how much this was, 3 years ago before the inflation hit, this right here was about $600 just in materials. That's not counting my labor. Just to last about 3 to 4 years, that is not worth it. This bed right now, if you were building it in today's market, it will easily be close to $1,000. So with that said, what is the best material to use for a raised bed? And the simple answer is going to be metal. Now this right here I bought locally at one of the box stores. You can buy these metal beds anywhere. There are many different brands. To be honest, they are all the same. But metal is going to be the best choice for you, especially galvanized metal, which is treated for rust. It's going to last a lot longer than wood. It's going to be a lot easier to put together, believe it or not. Yes, it's going to be a little expensive to begin with, but to be honest, if you are just starting, you are a beginner, or even if you think you're a master gardener, my video is going to help you. And a metal raised bed, it's the best way to go. So one of the things that I like about these types of beds, it's modular. You can actually have different configurations depending on your needs. So for me, I don't want something big. I just want something small because I want to be able to move it again in the future. So this is just as big as I want it. But if I wanted it longer or if I wanted it wider, you have extra panels that it comes with right here, and you can just do whatever you need to do with it. All right. I know, Chili. Alrighty, so the bed is done. So let's talk about the first thing, and that is going to be placement. Where should you put your raised bed? Well, to be honest, it doesn't really matter because a lot of vegetables out there, they can do well even in the shade, unless you live in an area where you hardly get any sun. But usually dapple sunlight, even direct sunlight, if the temperatures are not extreme, you should be good to go with growing most veggies out there. Now for me, I'm gonna put it right here. I know it looks shaded right now. Most of the day, this area right here gets a lot of sun, even dapple sunlight. And also I don't want it to be in the way because I walk through here all the time. So I think this spot right here is just perfect. So now that we have our raised bed set up, we know where it's gonna go. What do we do next? Well, if you have critters in your area like gophers, you want to probably put a liner on the bottom. You can easily put hardware cloth on the bottom. You can put wood. You can put, those leftover pieces right there, so that way things don't come up from the bottom. But that will depend in your specific area. Now for me, in this general area right here, I haven't had any gophers in a while, and if I do, I'll see them coming. So I'm not gonna put anything in there right now. So let's talk about the next thing, and that's going to be soil. So your raised bed is no different than growing plants in containers. But the difference between most plants in containers is the specific plants you're going to be growing in your raised bed. And those are going to be vegetables, which usually have shallow, fibrous roots. Veggies normally don't last forever. And because of that, they grow very quickly. And they usually are not really picky about soil. So what I'm using today is leftover stuff that I had from another video that I made a few weeks ago. If you want to watch it, link in the description. But this is just leftover potting mixes, garden mixes, and topsoil, which came, if you watch that video, just to give you a quick summary, all of them are about the same, so it doesn't really matter. As long as the soil you put in your raised bed actually drains the water, you will be good to go. It doesn't really matter what you put in there. Okay, so now let's go ahead and talk about some of the myths that you actually see people do out there with raised beds. Should you put logs on the bottom, rocks for drainage, or anything else? And the answer is, it doesn't really matter. If you put logs on the bottom, it's going to save you on putting soil. It's going to save you on actually putting more soil in there. So is that a good thing? Yeah, because soil is not cheap, especially if you're buying a bag like this over here. So if you put logs in there, you can fill up half of the bed with actual logs, and then you can put your soil on top. But you have to understand that the logs are going to break down over time, and you're gonna have to put the dirt in there anyway, sooner or later. So there is that. Can you put rocks on the bottom? Yeah, you can put rocks on the bottom, but the problem with rocks is they do not increase drainage. Actually, what they do is the opposite. They block the water from actually draining because the dirt will get trapped in between the rocks, preventing the water from actually draining. Is there a special blend that you should put in here for your veggies? No, there isn't. As long as you have organic material in here, your veggies are going to have all the food they need in order to actually grow. So you don't have to worry about any ratios out there. Just fill it up. So I'm just using whatever I have left over to fill up the raised beds. One of the main things you're gonna notice about building your own raised bed, it requires a lot of soil, a lot of it. So the cheapest way to fill it up is to use whatever you can get. If you go to the store, I highly recommend you to watch the video that I made on potting mixes and garden mixes to give you more understanding on how these soils actually work. But to be honest, just to give you a quick summary, if you're going to the store, just pick the cheapest they have and you will be okay. Remember, this is like filling up a container, nothing special. You're gonna be growing veggies. Veggies are gonna be one of the easiest plants to actually grow when you get into gardening. The easiest. That's the reason why I have not grown them until now, because anybody can do it. So anyways, another cheap type of soil that you can get for your raised bed is going to be your regular native soil. Yeah, so you can go look up online, see if anybody's selling clean topsoil, and then just buy it. Get it delivered to your place, and you will be good to go. Now, to give you an idea, this bed right here, it is about, I think, 2 by 5 feet, and it's about, I think, 2 feet tall. And how much soil is it taking? Well, it's taking about, I would say, a yard of soil. All right, so the bed's full, as you can see, all the way to the top. Don't worry about it because it's going to settle over time. How much? I would say this bed right here will settle this much in the next week or so. So I'm probably gonna have to top it off. It's no big deal. It's normal, especially when using potting mixes or gardening mixes or any organic material in your bed. It's going to settle over time. It's just the way it's going to work. So one way to prevent that is you can compact it down. So just get in there and then just walk around and just compress it as much as you can, so that way you don't have to come back in the future and fill it around your plants, you know. All right, so how much soil did this take? It took probably about a yard of soil, maybe a little more. If you want to know exactly how much soil your bed's going to take, there are online calculators that you can actually use. Put in the measurements and it will give you an idea how much soil it's going to use. So once you have your bed down, it's full of dirt, what else do you do next? Well, you get your plants. Most people are going to be growing vegetables because, well, that's the thing to do when you do raised beds, right? You do not want anything that has a taproot system or anything that has a deep root system in a garden bed, because for one, it's going to root itself through the bed into the soil, and then what are you going to do? It's going to be very hard to take it off, to remove it in the future without killing the plant, and just gonna ruin your bed. So if you're gonna use raised beds, make sure you use them for plants that have shallow fibrous roots. Can you grow fruit trees? Of course you can. Shallow fibrous roots. That is what the beds are mainly for. So right here, I got a tomato. So this one right here is a better bush tomato. And when putting things in your bed, you wanna space them out and think about the future, not right now. So tomato plants are usually big. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this one right here in the middle, so to allow it to grow without getting in the way of other plants around it. So I know it looks small, and that's one of the main mistakes people make when planting things in their raised beds. They do not think about the future. So that's a tomato plant right there. And over here I have a butternut squash. So this one right here gets really bushy. So this one's gonna go in the corner right here. This one right here, it's a cucumber plant. So we're gonna go ahead and put this one, maybe, I would say right here. This one right here is an eggplant. This one's gonna require support. So I'm probably gonna put it right here in the middle so I can put a cage around it too, just like the tomato plant. And this one right here is a zucchini. I'm gonna put this one all the way here in the corner. So why did I space out my plants the way I did? Well, because you have to understand, you have to look into the future. Plants are going to grow, they're gonna get top heavy, they're gonna get wide, so they do need space to actually grow out, because otherwise they're gonna crowd each other and you're gonna have problems. So problems with enough sun, problems with the plants leaning over, problems with not having enough room to put a cage or something like that. So I know the bed looks big, I know the plants look small, but remember, you have to think about the future. So now that you have your bed, you have your soil, you have your plants, what do you do next? Well, the next thing to do is to actually water your plants. So my recommendation for you is, if you are going to be growing plants, especially in hot areas like here in the desert, you need to automate your watering system. It is very hard to water plants by hand, especially in extreme temperatures, because as soon as these plants go dry in the sun, they will die within an hour to 2 hours. That is how quickly plants die without water. And a lot of people do not understand. A lot of people think they don't have a green thumb. It is not having a green thumb. It is about watering your plants. If you don't water your plants, they are going to die. A lot of people like to say they are retired and they're gonna be watering their plants by hand. But guess what happens if you miss it by 1 to 2 hours? Your plants are dead. So the easiest way to water your raised beds is going to be by using a drip line like this. This is a 1/4 inch line, and every 6 inches or so, it has a drip line. Now this drip line is built into the line itself, and this one specifically is 1/2 gallon of water per hour. So for every hour that this thing is running, each hole, every 6 inches or so, will push 1/2 gallon of water. It may sound like not a lot of water, but I can tell you, it is a lot of water. So usually what you do is you just put this line around your plants, just like that, and you're done. So you do 1 line per row and you're good to go. If this bed was a little wider, or if I was growing smaller plants, I could easily have 2 rows in here, just like that. 1 here and 1 over here. And that's it, and that's all you need in order to water your plants automatically. One of the reasons why I put it right here is because I have this container full of water over here, because I recently rescued some turtles right here, as you can see, and they poop in the water. And I have to empty this tank right here because I don't have a filter once a week, and I'm gonna be using that water to water the raised bed, right? But for right now, that's gonna be a topic for a different video. For right now, I'm just gonna water these plants by hand. And when watering your plants, remember, it's not about wetting the soil around your plants like this. You wanna water right next to the root ball of your plant, because that's where the roots are. And that's one of the main mistakes people make when planting, when starting a raised bed. They wet everything and they forget that all the roots are right there, because your plant has not rooted itself into the potting mix. How often are you gonna need to water your plants? Well, plants sweat for the same reasons you do. Nobody can tell you how often, but I can tell you, in my area, in my temperatures right now are over 100 degrees every single day. These plants right here will probably get watered 2 to 3 times a day. If using this drip line right here, probably about 10 to 15 minutes, and that would be enough to wet the root balls of these plants and keep them happy. So the temperatures in your area are going to dictate how often and how long you water your plants, because remember, plants sweat for the same reasons you do. The hotter the environment around your plant, the more they are going to sweat. The higher the evaporation rate is going to be in your soil, the more often you are going to need to water. So that's it, guys. This is how you build a raised bed. Now let's talk about cost. How much are you going to spend if you're gonna build something like this? Well, I can tell you, this bed right here, I think it was $130 plus tax. So the soil, if you are buying the soil, you'll probably be spending about, even if you bought the cheapest soil, I would say at least between $100 to $200 easily. Now the plants themselves, you can start those from seeds. They grow very easily, but just because I wanted to make this video, I just bought them, and I think they were $6 each. So total for this setup right here, one bed, it's going to be about, you know, $300 to $400. It is not cheap, and this is the reason why most people don't grow their own food, because growing your own food, it is not cheap, especially when you first get started. Now you have to understand though, this is the initial investment right here. Yes, it's expensive, but you also have to understand you're not going to have to rebuy the raised bed. The soil is going to, you know, break down over time, so you're going to have to keep replenishing it. That's okay, that's normal, that's expected. And the plants, you can save the seeds, you can buy the seeds, you can start them from seeds super cheap. So to be honest, it's mainly the initial investment. One thing that I forgot to mention is fertilization. Now, when you first put your veggies in there, do you have to fertilize them? No, you don't. There's a lot of organic material in this bed right here. There's a lot of food for these veggies to grow. But one thing about raised beds that you have to think about is, as soon as you are done with these veggies, you're gonna replant, and you're gonna keep doing that cycle over and over. So that is going to deplenish the nutrients in the soil, because in nature, things don't happen like that. In nature, everything is super slow. The first cycle, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to fertilize. Don't worry about it. Just water, and your plants are going to grow. Maybe even 2 crops, you're gonna be able to do that. But eventually, the soil is going to run out of food. So what do you do for food? To be honest, you can do anything. You can get decomposed chicken poop. You can throw it in there every once in a while. You can get decomposed horse poop, and you can throw it in there every once in a while. Just remember that whatever poop you're using, it's organic, because a lot of the animals nowadays, they are full of steroids, they are full of chemicals, and guess what? It goes into their belly, it doesn't get digested, it goes into their poop, and that's what's going in your bed. So be mindful of what you put in your bed. You can use warm poop in there, you can use whatever you want. Every once in a while, throw your scraps in there. They're gonna rot, they're gonna decompose. But one thing to keep in mind about a raised bed, if you forget everything that I just told you, that is, do not ever let it dry 100%. Because in order for this to work, it needs to have water, because water will give life to all the living organisms in the soil right here. They are the ones eating this up, breaking it down, and ultimately feeding your plants, which are going to feed you. So do not ever let it dry out. Even if you do not have any plants in there, make sure you keep your irrigation system running. Make sure you go out there and water that bed every once in a while, because that's going to keep the life in the soil alive. But one thing that is priceless is actually growing your own food source. The veggies that I grow in that bed, I know are going to be chemical free. They're not gonna have anything, because I'm not gonna put anything artificial in that bed. Everything's gonna be organic, everything's going to be fresh, and it doesn't get any better than that. How much is your health worth to you? Anyways, guys, as always, if you have any questions, comment below. I'm sure I didn't cover everything. I'm gonna be making more videos in the future about raised beds, so make sure you subscribe to get notifications about them. And as always, I will see you next time.